Hey, good morning everyone. Before we get started, I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe. Also, hopefully you like the video. If you do, give us a like. We really appreciate the support. And also send us a friend request on New York Saddle Hunters Forum on Facebook. This way we can keep in touch. It's a little bit easier to communicate if you guys have any questions or anything. Today I woke up, it's a really nice Sunday morning, and I woke up and I was going to go downstairs and get a workout in because this year I really want to kind of focus on my fitness. I want to try to lose about 20 to 25 pounds, and I was going to go downstairs and just do an ordinary workout, but I said, you know what, it's a really nice day. What I'm going to do is I've been meaning to prune a tree in my yard. I have a maple tree that you probably see in a lot of our videos. We climb in it all the time, and I get a lot of leaves in my yard, and I've been meaning to go up in there and just prune out some of the smaller branches and kind of thin it out a little bit. And I thought, what better way to get some exercise than to do some climbing and utilize a handsaw and just do some manual labor up there, trimming out some very small branches. I don't want to give the impression that with any of our videos that I should get out there and start doing tree work. I'm not doing tree work right now. I'm just trimming out a couple small branches, and that's the kind of thing that we as hunters will probably do all the time. So that's okay, but you want to be really careful with that. And I wanted to get out and play around with the Petzl Zigzag. The Petzl Zigzag is a mechanical prusik. The chicane is another device that you can use in conjunction with the Zigzag if you want to use it for an SRT climb. But today I'm just going to MRS DRT climb, and you could use the Zigzag in both applications. And the Zigzag it's probably not something that you're going to want to use in a hunting application, although you would just have to be very careful because it's metal and there's some potential for noise. But it's a mechanical prusik that is kind of acts like a friction hitch, but it's smooth as butter to climb with, but it locks up very solid in that, when you want it to lock up. So it just makes climbing very, very easy using these mechanical prusiks. So there's a couple of different ones out there. We reached out to Westbur to ask, I heard a lot about the Zigzag, and I asked them if they would send me one so I can play around with it. And I've done a little bit of climbing with it, but today I'm going to actually use it in the tree. So check it out. I wanted to go really high up into this tree because I'm pruning it out. So being I threw in really high up into the tree, I've got quite a few small branches that are creating some friction in my DRT or MRS system. I could still climb it, but it would make more work for me. So one of the things I wanted to show you about the nice thing about being versatile with SRT is with SRT you'll eliminate any friction that you have from limbs in a moving rope system. And the nice thing about being able to do both is I can adapt to the situation. So right now I've got the Zigzag and I've also got the Petzl chicane. I'm going to install the chicane on it, and instead of MRS or DRT climbing up into the tree, I'm going to SRT climb into the tree. So all I have to do, I've got my chicane. One of the things that's kind of important about the Petzl chicane and the Zigzag is the chicane requires a certain carabiner on the bottom to tie it into the Zigzag, because it's basically like keyed for this type of a carabiner. So you want to get like the Petzl OK carabiner, and it'll fit perfectly into the chicane, into the Zigzag. So basically ready to SRT climb. And what I'm going to do is, instead of MRS climbing like I was before, I'm going to go ahead and base tie. That's another good aspect of SRT climbing. You don't have to just canopy hitch into the tree, you can base tie. I'll show you how I base tie. Alright guys, so I want to show you one of the good benefits of SRT climbing, is it's real easy to get into the tree, because if you throw your throw ball up into the tree, as long as you get over a branch that's alive, healthy, and big enough, and your other end comes down, you get your other end of the rope down, you can either canopy hitch up into the tree, which is safer and I would recommend, or what you can do is you can base tie. And there's some things about base tying that has benefits too. One thing is, once you pull your rope down, you got both ends of your rope down to the ground like I do here. I mean, I've got my zigzag and my chicane on the one side that I'm going to climb up, and then the other side, all I have to do is wrap it around the base of the tree and secure it in a base anchor. So there's a couple different ways to do it. What I've learned to do is, when you've got rough bark, you don't really have to worry too much. You could just go one wrap around it, basically girth hitch the base of the tree, and it's no different than if you were girth hitched up top with your tether, right? It's going to hold here. It's just the direction of being pulled is going to be going up the other way. But if you had a really smooth bark tree, like something like a beech or something like that, and you're concerned about it slipping up, all you have to do is give it a second wrap around the tree. In this case, I don't think I have to worry, but I'll do it anyway. I'm just going to do a second wrap around the tree. Now, one of the things that I like to do, I mean, right here I'm using a rope that I have a spliced eye. If I wanted, I could just catch. You don't want to use a carabiner for this because it could be side loaded. I know a lot of guys will be tempted to do that, but I wouldn't. What I would recommend you use is a quick link of some type, like a delta link or an oval quick link, something like 5/16 or larger. And also keep in mind, a lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll take the quick link and they'll just tighten it by hand. That's probably what most people are doing. But I heard that Dave from Westboro, who's an expert, he had a really good tip. He says, really, you should take yourself a small wrench and just put a little torque on that nut, just to make sure that it doesn't move. Because if you're moving around in that tree and this is side loaded against the tree, there is the potential that it could potentially loosen it up and become an unsafe situation. So, you know, what does it take to take a small little crescent wrench, drop it in your pocket, and tighten it up? No big deal. But I'm going to show you, like, if I wanted to, I could just put my delta link through here, pull out the slack, and capture it like that, because I have a sewn eye. But a lot of guys don't have a sewn eye, so I'll show you another way to do it. Another thing you can do is you can put an alpine butterfly in the end of your line. Tie an alpine butterfly. Now with the alpine butterfly, take your quick link, tighten it up, take your wrench, just give it a little bit of torque, and then just tighten this up and you should be good to go. It's also a good idea to put another safety knot in here. Usually with an alpine butterfly you really won't have to worry about it, but that's one way you can do it. Another thing you can do, and it's not a bad idea if you're with somebody, you know, if you're setting presets and you've got a buddy with you, one of the good benefits of base tying is if something were to go wrong and somebody, let's say somebody was up top and they're climbing and something went wrong, they got hurt, or for some reason they needed to be lowered down, with a base tie, somebody can lower you down from the base of the tree. So what I would recommend is, in this case I'm kind of showing you on the end of the rope, but what you'd want to do is pull all your rope on this side so you have a lot more rope down here on this end, wrap it around the tree, do your canopy, your alpine butterfly and tie it in. And if, God forbid, something went wrong and you had to lower somebody down, you'd be able to disconnect them from the quick link and lower them down using the tree as mechanical advantage by wrapping your rope around the tree a couple of times, and you could lower the person that's up top down. Another thing you could do too as well is you could have another alpine butterfly right here on your line, leaving it there, because it'll make it easier. If you wanted to lower the person down, somebody could grab onto this alpine butterfly, put some weight on it while you loosen up the delta link. It would make it easier to get your delta link off to lower the person down. So those are some safety tips that would help you if you're climbing with somebody and you needed to rescue them. So I'm all tied in here now. Going to go ahead and that's nice and secure. I've got no concerns about that. I'm going to go ahead and climb on it.
One thing that's important to point out is that when you use a base tie, you actually create twice as much pressure on the limb that your rope is over through a base tie than you would if you were canopy hitched in. So keep that in mind. When base tying, you want to be over a limb that's very safe, strong, and healthy. It has to be able to hold twice your weight. So when selecting a limb to go over, you want to make sure it's plenty strong, because the physics of it is you're actually creating mechanical advantage by your body weight on one side being tied off to the other side on the tree. It creates almost a 2-to-1 advantage, and that puts more pressure on the limb that your rope is over than if you were just canopy hitched and climbing on the same limb. So keep that in mind. Also, guys, leave the heavier tree work to the professionals. Tree work is really extremely dangerous work. It's one thing to trim out a few shooting lanes by cutting out some small branches with your handsaw, but don't get involved with any bigger, heavier tree work. Leave that stuff to the pros. It's real dangerous. So I went out, and as you see, I went up into that tree, trimmed out some branches. I was probably only up in there for maybe 15 or 20 minutes. Trimmed out some small branches, did it all by hand with the handsaw. One of the things that I noticed I really, really like in the post and preseason, I really enjoy scout climbing my presets. When I find a tree that I want to be in to hunt, I like throwing into the tree, and I find using SRT a little bit easier because I don't have to isolate a limb. I can basically just get over just about any limb and girth hitch the main trunk of the tree and get up there. If I need to, I can base tie. It just gives me a little bit more options to get into the tree easier than just straight up DRT. However, what I do is I always set up my presets to be able to be climbed either DRT or SRT. So I'll position my preset loop in the tree in a way where it'll work out just fine for either one. So I'll get up into the tree, select the limb, and set it up. And when I'm up there outside of the hunting season, when I'm doing this, I can use some of these arborist tools that are a little bit more noisy with noise potential. However, they're a lot more efficient to use while you're working in the tree. So if I'm up there, I feel safe and confident in my gear, and I can go hands-free, trim out a couple of shooting lanes, set up my loops, that kind of thing, and climb down. And I got to tell you, utilizing these rope climbing methods and utilizing these arborist tools, it's just added another dimension of fun to the hunting game for me. And I'm getting a little bit of exercise doing it. Some people think that the rope climbing, they look at rope climbing and they say, oh, it's going to be a workout, it's harder. It's really not. When it's done properly, it's just as easy or just as much work as using sticks. No matter what you do, if you're climbing, it's always going to be exercise. I don't care if you're climbing a ladder. Climbing a ladder is a little bit of exercise, right? And it's the same thing with DRT or SRT. When it's done properly, it's no more exertion than any other climbing method, but it is climbing, and climbing is always some form of exercise. And I just, to me, it's not crazy exercise, but it is exercise. It's no different than going for a walk or going for a hike. A hike is exercise too, right? And it's just a fun way to get exercise, climbing. And I'm just like a big kid in a tree. I really enjoy it. And this being able to utilize a saddle and use these methods, I don't care whether you're hunting with a tree stand or if you prefer using sticks or whatever, it just gives you more options. It gives you options to get into larger trees. It gives you options to, even if you wanted to hang a tree stand, with a rope climbing method, you can get up there, you can set a pulley or something to pull up your ladder stands. There's a lot of different things that you can do with this that'll make your life easier when you're setting yourself up for hunting, and it's a lot of fun. So I want to propose this to you guys out there to take a look at it, because I'm having a lot of fun with it. I've been deer hunting for 40 years, and I've only gotten into this aspect of it in the last 5 years, and it's really breathed some new excitement into the game for me. And I notice when we show people and they try it for the first time and they get it, that light bulb goes off in their heads and they realize, like, wow, this has a lot of potential and there's a lot of different things I can do with it. So, don't be afraid of it. Explore it. Obviously, as always, we tell everybody to make sure that you get all the information and training and everything so that you know how to do it properly. The key is to learning how to do it properly. It's no differently than using a firearm or a bow. If you don't know how to use these things properly, accidents can happen and people can get hurt. But if you learn how to do things properly and you do things right, it's going to actually enhance your safety. So I just really believe that we can climb like amateurs, or we can learn from the professionals that climb in trees every day. And if we can take from those professionals some of the aspects and the tools that they use to keep themselves safe working in trees, then for those of us that are doing it recreationally, it's just going to enhance our safety. And I got to tell you, it's a lot of fun. So look into it. Also, keep in mind that through our channel, you can get a 10% discount on all climbing gear from Westbur Tree Equipment. They have really good high-end climbing lines, carabiners, all these tools for climbing. There's a lot of different things to explore, and they're a really good resource for getting those tools. So take advantage of the discount, because you can get anything you need from them for climbing industry rated gear. We've been very happy using them. So use NYSH promo code to get a 10% discount on anything that you need from them. All right. Okay, guys, climb safe and best of luck.